We cannot ignore, as Dan mentioned, all of the EU news coming out of what's happening with Greece. The problems may not be going away anytime soon, but we brought in two money managers who still see big buying opportunities in the market.
Let's bring in Yu-Dee Chang and Alan Lance. Good to see you both. Yu-Dee, first to you. You have to be concerned. You have to think that there's a strong possibility that if Greece leaves the EU, there's going to be a lot to pay for it. Some people put the price tag of that close to $1 trillion, or €1 trillion, forgive me.
No doubt about it. That is a major concern. And there is a real concern that they will exit EU. And that's what's been factored into the market right now. That's why we're seeing this, 8.5%, 9% correction in the stock market. But I think overall speaking, this concept of risk trade and the fact that there's still a the Fed put in the market, that this dip will result eventually in the buying opportunity. I think on a very short-term basis, our indicator tells us that we may not exactly be there yet. They may still be another 2-3% to go to the downside, but we believe after that another 2 or 3% is going to be a buying opportunity.
Alan, look, this could go on for years, this EU boogie monster and all of the fears that are going there. So if it has a grip, what is the best way to look at that? Okay, it is what it is. Let me get into the market in certain select areas and still make money, or just stay away completely?
No, Liz, I think it's more the former. When we were in your studios a month and a half ago, we really didn't have very many buy recommendations, if any. We were saying to buy into weakness. Now we're getting that weakness, so now we're starting to find some opportunities. Whether Greece leaves the euro, it's going to be a 2-3 year process, even if they don't. So, if they leave, you're going to get a big sell-off. It's going to be a great buying opportunity. If they don't, I would buy a third of your typical position, be very selective, like you said, and take advantage of the sell-off, just like a month and a half ago, you're taking advantage of the buyers by taking some profits.
All right. By the way, not that I live and die on polls, but Yu-Dee, we should mention there was just a poll out, 85% of the Greeks want to keep the euro. So there's still a question as to whether they'll pull out of the euro or not. Greeks apparently don't want to, but they have to take the tough medicine. Let me ask about buying opportunities, Yu-Dee. You think that financials have been beaten down enough so that, say, a company like J.P. Morgan, which some people say was beaten down too much, lost too much market cap as a result of a bad trade, is a buy right now, correct?
Yeah, I think so. Financials, to me, it might not be a long-term investment opportunity, but it's definitely a trading vehicle. J.P. Morgan specific, they lost $2 billion, but don't forget $2 billion is only 0.5% of their cash and cash equivalent. And the first quarter alone, they announced earnings of about $5.4 billion. So I think J.P. Morgan is actually one of the more stabler, one of the so-called more have their act together banks. So I absolutely believe this is a buying opportunity. Just look at Walmart back in April. During that Mexican crisis, they were down 8%. Now, not only they recover that 8%, they're back up 3% above that. So I think J.P. Morgan, to me, right now is pretty much a buying opportunity.
Yeah, Walmart hitting a multi-year high just yesterday. All right, so Alan, he talked about a trading opportunity with J.P. Morgan. You like names like Royal Caribbean, and are you looking long-term or also a trading opportunity?
No, we're long-term investors, Liz, and it's a situation where Royal Caribbean, NRG Energy, and Dole Foods are all under book value. They all have leadership positions, trading at multi-year lows, and this is a time when you want to buy them. So, I can't tell you that's the bottom, but I would take positions now and then buy more into weakness. And we're long-term investors, and I think they move up back near their highs, take some profits like we did a couple of months ago. I think you're going to get this back and forth market. If you want to trade it short term, we're not smart enough to do that. Just take advantage of these extreme swings.
Okay, Yu-Dee, talk about beaten down. Nothing is more beaten down than natural gas. But the question is whether manufacturers and utilities and truck companies have figured out a way to use all that cheap natural gas, which might put a floor on the price. You think maybe now we've reached the floor? I've heard that before, I got to tell you.
You know what? I don't think, to tell the truth, they figured out how to store, how to transport natural gas yet. So I think on that basis, we're not there yet. Again, on a trading basis, though, I do believe that natural gas has been beating down a little bit too hard. And just by looking at the price action alone, it's bouncing. So we don't believe in single bottoms, by the way. So now, after this first bounce, if we come back and retest the bottom and hold the bottom, I believe it's a buying opportunity. Whether you buy the natural gas itself, whether you use a stock such as Chesapeake Energy, we still like it on that basis.
Yu-Dee Chang, Alan Lance, two different perspectives on how to trade, but we appreciate them both. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome, Liz.
Well, former Citigroup president